your source for everything paranormal. Para-X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meet and blessed be, heed the words I call to thee. Honour the old ones in name and deed, hearken not to others' greed. Pray to the moon when she is round, luck with you shall then abound. Respect the earth, the sky, the sea, as you will it, so mote it be. Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron on the Para-X Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Merry meet, everybody, and welcome to the show. Tonight's opening music, as is usually the case, has to do with what the topic is tonight, and this was some nice Reiki healing music to kind of set the tone for what's to come. Now, my guest tonight is psychic medium, certified Reiki master, and medical intuitive and healer, Timothy Wallace. And his 25-year career as a physician's assistant most certainly prepared him for being able to familiarize himself with the human body and how it functions. And I was intrigued when I heard him on another show during a body scan to the host and one of the listeners. And the listener validated all the things he told her about the physical ailments. And because I knew the host well enough to know what was going on with him, I was familiar with that too, and I was fascinated because Timothy hit all the areas the host was having trouble with and validated the diagnosis given by the doctors. And the concept of metaphysical body scans is rather magical, and I thought it would be something that I could offer to those of you listening in tonight, and so I asked Timothy to join me on a future episode, and he graciously agreed, and tonight's the night. Timothy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Marla. Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, well, we're going to have fun tonight for sure. And maybe some, enlightening as well, depending on who gets what. But before we get started, let me explain that you're going to be doing medical readings as time allows. But also let me explain that when people contact you for readings and medical consultations, you do a complete body scan, which takes, like an hour from head to toe. And since we only have 1 short hour, if anybody wants a medical scan, please limit it to one particular area that seems to either be giving you trouble or maybe you're concerned about in that respect. That's not to say that he might not see something else in the process, but for time's sake, we just kind of need to keep these scans relatively short and help as many people as we can. So that being said, sorry, if you would like a reading, please send me a message in private chat, because if you write it in the chat room, it will fly by and I will no doubt miss it. So, Timothy, while people are lining up and asking for scans, let's talk a little bit about your background, both in the mundane world and the metaphysical, and how the two worlds merged, leading into what you're doing now.
All right. Well, it was a very long and winding road. I would say, beginning when I found out about the profession of becoming a physician assistant. At the time, I was 26 years old, living in New York. It was the summertime. I had the flu. I went to my doctor's office to get something to help me feel better. And this guy came into the exam room who wasn't the doctor. He introduced himself as Gary, the physician assistant. And the cynical part of my mind said, "What's the matter, pal? You couldn't cut medical school?" And then a voice went off inside my head, and it said, "This is what you were born to do." And for me, that voice comes and goes at very specific times, very important times in my life, when I'm at a crossroads or when I need to be led in a certain direction. So that was very, very loud and clear. So fast forward maybe 3 years from that point, I got into physician assistant school and started my career. So I believe I was guided very strongly along the way. But I didn't realize it until much later. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes, things come up when we least expect it or don't think they ever will, It works in mysterious ways.
Absolutely.
As anything metaphysical, it's just, it's never proven to be what you think it's going to be. And I think that's the beauty of it in some ways, too. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting how these things all of a sudden turn into something that you don't expect, never thought of, and yet you do it with great success, because in my mind, that's what you were meant to do, or all of us. So we don't know the hows and the whys and wherefores sometimes, but it certainly turns into a really neat thing in the end to realize, because the bottom line is to be of service, right? I mean, that's
absolutely, yes.
That's the key thing. Now, you said something earlier when we were talking about, because when people aren't calling in, you're getting the names, but we don't want to give away anybody's privacy exactly. So, what would you need? I mean, sometimes we can give a first name, or some of them have screen names, but some of them are real names. So, what would be the best way to do that?
I would say a first name would be fine. Or a nickname would be fine. Or if we could say, George from Denver would like to know A, B, or C.
Okay. All right. Well, we can get started. We've got a couple people in line already.
Oh, great.
And this is a nickname, and this is a very nice lady, and her name is Moofy, Moofy. And she would like somewhere around the cardiac area.
Let's see. So what I need to do to get the energy flowing is I just sort of talk to myself. So if you hear me mumbling a little bit, it's not that I've gone insane. It's just that I'm getting the energy going. So Moofy would like to know about something around the cardiac area. So it's interesting. While I'm there, I feel with her heart, I feel like it feels a little bit larger than what I would expect, and so I would wonder. That makes me wonder whether if she suffers from any kind of, and if she suffers from high blood pressure. Because a lot of times what happens is when folks have high blood pressure that's not well treated, your heart is a muscle. And when you work a muscle, it gets larger. And with your heart, you would think that's a good thing. But what happens is the chambers that push the blood through our body are lined with muscles. And so as those muscles get bigger, the chambers get smaller, and it makes the heart work harder, and then the muscles get bigger even still. And it's sort of a cycle that we don't want to get into. So I do feel a little bit of like my heart is a little bit enlarged with her. And I also feel that she has she may have some shortness of breath as a result of that.
Okay. Hang on just a second. I'm getting code names here all over the place. All right. And this is the thing, and I want to let people know for sure that, I mean, you spent 25 years in medicine, so you're not like guessing at things. I mean, you know the systems, the body very well. So that makes it a lot easier for people to understand. And it's,
Oh, one thing I always like to say as we get started, though, I forgot to do it before we started with Mufi, is that this is not a substitute for seeking medical care. It's just an adjunct.
Yes. Have to do the disclaimer because that's absolutely true. Okay. All right. All right. I've got another code name. It's the mystery guest from back east.
Ah, we like the mystery guest.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I don't think he has a specific area. I can't give it away, so I can't say anything. But all right, let me narrow it down so you don't have to suffer too much. Between the waist and the knees, how's that?
Between
okay, let's go from the upper ribs down to the knee. It's that general area.
Okay.
And he said I could tell you, liver.
Okay. Let's see. So that makes it much easier.
Yeah, well, I know. I mean, yeah.
So let's see. Mystery guest from back east. Liver. Okay, so okay. So what I'm getting with that, and this is actually what I should say is I haven't gotten this yet, and what I'm feeling with his liver is that it feels smaller than what we would expect it to be. And usually, with liver problems, we would have a liver that's larger than we would expect it to be. So his liver feels a little bit smaller. So that could mean a number of different things. I would wonder if he had suffered from some sort of liver disease in the past that sort of that made his liver not work as well as it should, and become smaller as a result. Your liver is one of the few organs in the body that can actually regenerate itself. So, but I just get a sense that it's smaller than it should be. I don't know if this makes sense to the mystery guest from back east or not, but that's what I'm getting.
Okay. All right. Ask you something. When in between, because giving you a break from one to the other. I always say that when we need assistance from the other side, we should ask for a specialist guide in the field we're working on to help us with the information that we're looking for. And so I always say it's like in medicine. When we go to a specialist for a specific specialty, I do that with my guides, I mean, we wouldn't go see a cardiac surgeon for a bunion or a dermatologist to deliver a baby. So do you have medical guides that assist you when you're doing your readings?
I do. And the most recent one that I've been able to identify, I haven't been able to get his last name, but his first name is Edgar. And it makes me wonder, Edgar Casey. That would be
That
really
would be
cool.
something, yeah.
That would be really cool. But I do have medical guides. Edgar seems to be the most recent one.
Hmm. Can you put your finger on it? I mean, it's like you want to ask, well, is that really you? I mean, because it is kind of an unusual name, Edgar. I mean, it's
Yes.
an old-fashioned name, but old-fashioned names are coming back. But it's just kind of neat that, and when people, anybody listening, when you're doing anything, when you're talking to your guides, and if you need some help in a specific area, don't be afraid to ask them to bring in a specialist, because they don't get offended. It's not like your one guide's going to say, well, she doesn't like me anymore. That doesn't happen. They're there to help. And so I think it's important to know that and to do that. And yeah, it's okay. So also, when you're doing the body scan, again, I want to use the word remote viewing because I think people are familiar with that term, and that's kind of what you're doing. But how are the images presented to you?
Now, that's a good question. I would say, well, in the instance of the heart that we just looked at for Mufi, what I got was I just saw, as crazy as it sounds, a regular human heart, but all of a sudden it looked a little bit larger than it did when I first saw it. So it told me that the heart was a little bit larger than what we would consider normal. And the same thing with the mystery guest from the back east. When I started to look at his liver, it went from a regular size and got shrunk down to a smaller size. And that's one way that I can see that's one way that I see what's going on. A lot of stuff that I do comes with I don't just see what's going on; I get a feel. So I can. Let's say if I'm going down into someone's stomach, sometimes I'll actually feel in my own stomach an area of some discomfort. It's not a terrible discomfort that I feel, but it's just enough for me to know that there's an issue there, and I can start talking about it, and we can drill down from that point.
Mm-hmm. All right. It's interesting how the whole situation works in that. And I asked you this before, but I'm going to ask you again because people might think so. The areas that need attention in a person that you're reading, sometimes do they jump up out at you and you might not be looking there, but boom, there they are?
Yes, absolutely. And as we mentioned before the show began, I was doing a scan earlier this evening, and I was coming up from the lungs and going down the esophagus. And as I was going down, all of a sudden I felt vocal cords. I felt my vocal cords. So I realized I needed to go back and recheck the vocal cords. And in fact, the person that I was scanning at the time has a very powerful voice and has the ability to shatter glass with her voice. And she had been she was disappointed that when she was younger, that her family didn't have the means for her to learn to be an opera singer, but she definitely has the pipes, she says, and she sings quite often. And basically what I was picking up on was the fact that her vocal cords were very well used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the whole thing is really totally amazing. I'm getting full down here, so I got to get to the next person. We got Patty from Pennsylvania, and she's wondering about, where was it? I just lost it. I think it was like a cardiac thing, area as well.
Okay, Patty from Pennsylvania. Okay. So I go to the heart here, and I feel. Okay, I do feel a sense of that around her heart, the blood vessels around her heart. I get a sense that there's a little bit of some hardening of the arteries there. I don't get a sense that there's a severe blockage in any of them, but I do get a sense that there's a plaque buildup beginning. And I also get a sense that that this is. I get a sense that this is a smoking related disorder, meaning that if she is a smoker now, she needs to stop smoking. If she was a smoker in the past but doesn't smoke anymore, that's fantastic, because the inflammation caused by the smoking is what causes the plaques to begin to build in those arteries. So I do get a sense that there's some plaques in the arteries that feed the muscles of the heart. Like I said earlier, I don't get a sense that it's something terrible, but I do get a sense that it's something that's present, and it should be something that she discusses with her doctor.
Okay, and sometimes I think with age comes that stuff too, and that's not fun. Got an interesting question for you, but I have to shut off this phone. Okay. Somebody was asking, when you see something now, could it be that it's something that is like precognizant, that you're seeing something that will be down the line? And I'm not necessarily seeing a diagnosis, but, if somebody had, well, like we were talking about liver, a small liver, let's say, and suppose it was big, but you're seeing that down the line it'll be smaller. I mean, does that happen? Am I making any sense at all?
You're making perfect sense. To be honest, I don't know.
That's good.
I know I pick up on things that are presently happening, and I've definitely picked up on things that have happened in the past. I don't know, to be honest, if I picked up on things that will be happening in the future.
Okay, no, that's a fair answer. But it was a good question, because there is that possibility. I mean, sometimes we see things and the time frame is not the way we see them. I mean, that's normal in the metaphysical world. So okay,
absolutely,
yeah, all right. Next question. We got one from Kat, and she's saying, is if we say that she's looking at sinuses and respiratory system, is that too broad for the scan, for a short scan?
No.
Okay, so that's what she's looking at.
Okay. Okay, so basically, I feel when I'm with her sinuses, I do get a sense that there's some inflammation and some discomfort. And the sinuses and the respiratory system do go hand in hand, because inflammation and discharge from the sinuses can go and cause what we call a reactive airway, which is an asthma-like condition from the postnasal drip that drips from the sinuses into the throat. So in Kat's case, I do feel that she's got some inflammation in her sinuses. And I also feel a little bit of some tightness in the chest, and it makes me wonder, especially this time of year, she suffers from seasonal allergies, but there's also a lot of mold problems going on in people, with people, especially if we've had a wetter summer than we normally have. But that's what I'm picking up with Kat right now. She does have some inflammation in her sinuses, and I do get some inflammation in my lungs. So I do think that those two things are connected for her. And I get the sense that it's probably mold.
Yeah, because mold is insidious. Sometimes you don't see it. You don't know it's there, but you do react to it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. When you first started doing this, and we're going to take a break soon, so let's talk a little bit for 5 minutes, and we'll take a break, and then we'll come back, because I got 3 or 4 other people waiting in line. But when you first started doing this, now a lot of people, when they communicate with their guides or something, and they hear answers in their heads and everything, they don't trust themselves. Because they think, oh, well, it's just not me. I'm just imagining this. I can't really be doing that. Did that happen to you? And how long did it take for you to finally start trusting yourself and the guides and what you were feeling without questioning yourself?
That's a really good question, because for me, it came on many different levels, because I was a physician assistant first, and then along the way discovered my mediumship. And then in discovering the mediumship, I had to learn how to trust what I was getting and understand that it wasn't, and believe that it wasn't me, and to trust that. When the medical intuitive stuff began to come through, mostly because what I went through with the mediumship, I was able to begin to trust what I was getting much faster. But also, I was able. It was much easier for me because I know my body well enough, so I know when something isn't me.
Hmm. Yeah, which is actually interesting because we were just talking earlier about how men don't have the ability sometimes to say what's wrong and know what they are, So, yeah, that's it's still difficult, I think. I mean, when I get messages still, I'm like, okay, um, not doubting. I mean, I'm getting a lot better. I mean, it's going on for years. But there's always that little tiny little dit in the back of your brain, especially when
Yes.
you get things that you don't understand, that something comes out of left field, I'm not going to tell this whole story, but at one time I was doing a reading on someone, and all I could see was a pink birthday cake in my head. And that had nothing to do with what we were talking about or what I was doing during the reading. And I kept thinking, oh, God, my sweet tooth is kicking up. Maybe I'm hungry. Where is this thing from?
Hmm.
And honest to God, I finally realized that when you see something or you feel something, you have to say it. You just have to.
Yes.
And I did. And it turned out that the woman I was talking to, it was the anniversary of her father's death that day, and he always got her a pink birthday cake for her birthday.
Wow.
But you can't, that. So that's it. I mean, all of a sudden she's talking about her boyfriend or her love life or whatever it was, and all I'm seeing is a pink birthday cake. And it taught me a lesson that whatever comes into my head better come out my mouth.
Yes.
Because otherwise it's just going to be, somebody's going to lose out on something and it's going to be my fault.
That's the second you filter it or interpret it, it all goes to hell.
Yeah, no, it does. And you have to trust. It's the hardest thing in the world to trust yourself in things like this. It truly is because, I mean, we're a tool, basically. We don't create it. We're just the thing that it comes through to help people. And I don't think anybody's really sure of themselves. And I think people that seem to be cocksure of themselves and they're walking around like peacocks, that's only covering up insecurity, in my opinion. So it's really difficult for us to go with the flow and let it happen. And Kat just said thank you to you for
Oh,
the
you're welcome.
sinus respiratory thing. Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a sticky wicket, and we constantly grow too. I mean, your abilities, I'm sure, are getting better and stronger and more to the point that you can really be confident with what you do, right?
Yes, and the more I do it, the better I get at it. And it's interesting when I started doing this. I was lucky because I had 25 years of practice without knowing it.
Right. That, yeah, that's important but here's the thing: if you want to look at it again from a metaphysical standpoint, you got into medicine for some reason, maybe not the reason that you thought you did. So that somewhere down the line, things could take over and you could be, helping people other than being the physician's assistant. You can be helping people with diagnoses or things that they need to look out for. So it all nothing happens by chance, I don't think. I don't think anything happens by fate. I think things happen because they're supposed to.
And isn't that cool when it does?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But sometimes it takes you a while to figure out. That's the interesting part. You're not sure, why am I doing this? I mean, I when I was a kid, I was scared to death of doctors. I was, the needles and stuff, because I had a pediatrician who would sneak up on me, and he had the syringe behind his back, and he'd say, "You're not getting a shot today. You're not." And then all of a sudden he'd pull it out and jab me. And so I really didn't trust doctors. And so I thought when I decided to get into medicine and stuff, I would do it so other people wouldn't have that same kind of experience with this sneaky old guy, and whatever. But yeah, there's always a reason, but sometimes you just don't know why. I'm still not sure I got into it for that reason, to teach that old guy a lesson, because he's been long gone. But I think we're all put here for a certain reason to do things, and it may come very late in our lives sometimes. And what we're doing is really important in the long run. That being said, it's also important that we take a break right now. So we'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Don't go away. There's more Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks right after these important messages.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal Show, Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para X Radio and at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com.
What Are You Afraid of on Para X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction. We are ready to scare you.
Para X. From Haunted Road Media comes an exciting new novel by author Marla Brooks. Soul Connection, a deadly obsession. Two lost souls ripped apart by murder in another century find each other again in the present, only to discover that the murderer has followed them through time. Can their love save them, or will history repeat itself? Find out in this captivating new novel by Marla Brooks, Soul Connection, a deadly obsession. Available now on Amazon.com and at BarnesandNoble.com.
Demons, vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers, all of this and more, Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And we are back, and we're back with Timothy Wallace, and he's a medical intuitive and healer and Reiki master, and we'll talk about Reiki in a little while. But people want readings really quickly. I mean, they're lining up, and I'm running out of space. So let's just run for it, okay?
All right.
Okay. We've got, they're just all the way down the line. We've got Little T, who you know well. She needs a quick back scan, and she was talking about something like that earlier on the show. So if you can give her a back scan somehow.
Well, let's see. All right. So, okay. What I'm getting is I feel I feel there's something going on in my lower back as I tune into her. So, and it feels like it's more on the right side than on the left. Let's see. It feels like it's sort of around lumbar number 2 or 3. So what I get is, yeah, she definitely has. It feels like she needs to see a chiropractor, and she can probably get her vertebrae back in alignment. It doesn't feel like it's a terrible thing, but it's something that's definitely causing her some discomfort, and it's something that's fixable.
Okay. That's good. All right. We've got, keep losing them because they keep going too fast. Okay, how about Mary from Pennsylvania wants to know about her left hand. She's having trouble bending. She's not sure if it's something that's broken or arthritis or carpal tunnel or whatever, but left hand.
Left hand. Okay, Mary from Pennsylvania, left hand. As you mentioned her name and her problem. I got a sense that it's not just a single joint, but I feel like it's the entire hand. I would definitely check, especially because I've got it in the way I see and feel it right now. I feel it as being red hot and swollen, and she needs to get that evaluated to make sure that she doesn't have an infection that's involving a good part of her hand, because what happens is the tendons that move the fingers, if they get involved in the infection, they can get scarred, and then we now have a problem with loss of hand function. So I would definitely get that evaluated as soon as I can.
Okay, thank you. We've got Bella in Michigan, and she's saying something about the trunk of her body. What is the problem of the trunk of her body?
Trunk of her body. Bella in Michigan. Okay, so as I tune into her and as I'm talking, I feel like I'm sort of expanding, like I'm bloating all the way around. I kind of feel okay. Okay, it feels to me what I would imagine a severe case of irritable bowel syndrome to be. I feel like I've got a lot of gas and I have a lot of bloating. So I definitely simply because of the degree of discomfort this is causing. I believe that the degree of discomfort that I feel this is causing Bella, I definitely think she should get that evaluated. It could be something as simple as irritable bowel syndrome, but simply because of what I'm feeling at the moment, I would definitely get checked out.
Okay. All right, we have now William in Jersey, and he's asking kind of in that same area about colon, that digestive tract area, I guess.
Okay. The William in Jersey. Let's see. Okay. What I'm getting from him is something completely separate. I'm scanning inside of his large intestine at the moment, and what I'm seeing is something. It's a condition called diverticulosis. What that is, it's the smooth muscles of our intestines gonna kind of contract and relax to push things forward and push things through in a forward manner. Sometimes what happens with diverticulosis is part of that muscle, they call it an outpouching, breaks through the mucosa of the colon and creates a little finger-like projection. And diverticula are usually they're usually benign, but what happens is a little piece of food or a seed or a piece of a nut or something can get stuck around the diverticula and get inflamed and cause a lot of pain. So when diverticulosis becomes diverticulitis, that becomes a situation where you need to be evaluated. So I would definitely have William in Jersey see his doctor to see if he agrees with what I have to say here.
Okay. All right, let's talk a little bit about Reiki. I mean, I'm not going to wear you out all the time, because readings are not easy sometimes. You're a Reiki master.
Yes.
When did that fall into between doing all this other stuff, the mediumship and the healing and whatever? Well, healing and Reiki are same thing, but you know what I mean.
Yes. The Reiki master, actually, I trained to become a Reiki master with the first teacher that I had for my psychic mediumship. I trained with Connie Bell Dixon in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. And initially I wasn't sure if this was something that I was interested in or wanted to do, but Connie saw that Connie felt that I really needed to know this, and the more she described it to me, it sounded interesting. So I went and I went through the classes, became a Reiki master, and then never used it. As crazy as that sounds, working as a physician assistant, where I was working, a 40-hour week was actually a 50-hour week, and then driving an hour back and forth each day. There wasn't time to do anything. So I didn't start using my Reiki until after I decided not to work as a physician assistant anymore, and I found, wow. This is something very powerful, and it works.
It does. And, it's funny because I was talking to somebody earlier today that I do distance Reiki on. And he said, I don't know how you do it, but it works every time. And I said, well, I'm not sure how I do it either. It's like an intention.
Exactly.
But, and it's hard to explain because people say, well, you're not touching that person. You're not in the same room. You're not in the same city. You might not even be in the same country, but you can still do it. And people are always saying, how does it work? I mean, what's your opinion on that?
It's definitely intention. I believe, that we're here. I know I'm here in service to others. And I know that, if someone is open to healing and if someone is open to taking the energy, we can definitely influence things or help. I don't want to use the word influencing. So we could definitely give them energy that will go to where it's most needed and help them to heal.
Yeah, and I think we make a very good point there. People have to be open to it. They have to not have that wall up saying, okay, I dare you to prove to me that it's going to work kind of attitude.
Exactly.
Because it won't. I mean, no matter how hard we try, that when somebody says that, when they're being the doubting Thomas, they immediately put a wall up in front of them and nothing is going to work. I mean, if somebody came down from the sky and stood in front of them, it still wouldn't work,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a two-way street. It's somebody that believes in what you're doing, and we believe in what we're doing. And it's just kind of an amazing thing because it's something that people overlook, and it's so simple.
Absolutely.
The other thing, as you said before, if somebody does Reiki on you, that doesn't mean that you don't need to see a doctor, unless it's something minor, you banged your foot or something like that. I mean, nothing kind of is going to replace that. You have to do it. It's a necessary evil. And there are people that have MDs that are also holistic and naturopaths and stuff. And I think that's the best of both worlds.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. Because there's so much that we can do naturally that will, that will help us to heal, that will help promote our health, and that will help us, that will help prevent us from getting sick in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, preventative is really important. And, if we go back several hundred years, all they had was nature. They didn't have pharmaceuticals, and they didn't have all this stuff that we have now. And a lot of medicine did a really good job at the time.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so... it's try to find somebody that resonates with you and is in the same mindset, and it works out very well. Now, I've got a question from Kathy. And she said and this is kind of more general, but she said with all the health diets that are out there, what would be the best for her to follow? Or would it just be old common sense with like everything in moderation?
That's a very good question because there's so much out there and it gets so confusing so quickly. The best thing to do, a couple things. The first thing I tell everyone is, if the best thing you can do for yourself is, if it comes from a box, if it comes out of the freezer, if it comes from a can, avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in that case, after that, everything in moderation. Hamburgers are fine. Just don't have them every day for 365 days. You know, cakes and cookies are fine. Yeah, they're better if you make them yourself with natural ingredients. But once again, in moderation, not every day. Look at foods that protein-rich foods that aren't from meat are great for you. Things that are overlooked frequently are nuts. I love to have my almonds every day. It makes me feel better.
You look forward to it, yeah. No, I mean it is a lot common sense, and you're right. Things that have too many additives and chemicals in them aren't good for you. Sometimes, but sometimes if you need an In-N-Out burger, go for it. I mean, so what if it has 8,000 grams of fat? It's a one-time thing.
It's a one-time thing, exactly.
Yeah.
But actually, a good source for this is I see the book on my bookshelf. It's by Dr. Mark Hyman. It's called Food. What the heck should I eat? And it really helps to solve a lot of the food mysteries that we, the perceived food mysteries that are out there. It sort of helps us. It sort of helps you to eat better, simply, and deliciously. You don't have to sacrifice taste. And you don't have to eat just vegetables. It's a great book. It sort of sorts out the giant food maze we all live in and helps to make sense of it.
What's your opinion about some of these diets that are out there that, and over time, there's always one that's the main one. Like right now, I think the keto diet is the main one. Before it was the Atkins or whatever. Do you think all of those diets have enough variety that we're getting enough of what we need while we're on them?
They probably don't. Definitely, they probably don't. There are always minerals and vitamins that come from fruits and vegetables that don't come out of meats and proteins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a friend of mine, her husband is on a very strict diet. No carbs, no nothing. He won't cheat for anything. And she's walking around saying, "I don't think that's healthy for you." I mean, the ambition is good. You're losing the weight, but she's always yelling at him because he will not break that thing. I will not have 1 ounce of carb in me, kind of thing. And he says, "Well, it's working for me, so I'm fine. I'm eating healthy food." He's not eating stuff out of cans or frozen or anything like that. He's making everything from scratch, but still, sometimes you just wonder if you're getting enough or if we need supplements in general. I mean, it's such a crapshoot.
It is, and when you say supplements, that opens up a whole nother Pandora's box. Because there's just so many out there, and they're since they're supplements and not considered medicine, they're not really regulated by the FDA. So you really don't know what's in there, and then the potency of the supplements varies from manufacturer to manufacturer to manufacturer. It gets very confusing very quickly. My gut tells me that there's nothing wrong with a multivitamin once a day. Anything more than that, supplement-wise, you may want to think about it or do some more homework on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, people get crazy. I mean, there are people that take 30, 40 vitamins a day, and they're healthy individuals to begin with. So, I mean, and I don't think they realize that the body just won't absorb the things that it doesn't need. I mean, it's kind of like wasting money, sort of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, there are fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K. Those your body stores. Now, I'm not aware of a vitamin A, D, E, or K toxicity if you get too much of it.
Yeah.
But your body does absorb those. But everything else that's a vitamin that's not A, D, E, or K gets flushed right out if you don't need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think it's just, you just kind of have to be sensible about it and cravings, people will say, well, I'm getting a craving for something. Does that mean that I'm low in whatever that is? And I was laughing because for the longest time I was having cravings for celery and cucumbers. Now, those aren't the most nutritious things on the planet, And I thought, I don't know why, but, you just do. Maybe your body just needs to crunch or something, or I don't know. But do people crave things that their body needs, do you think?
That's a good question. I just had a class in cravings recently from my friend Connie out in Lansdale. She's going to kill me because I don't remember at the moment what my answer is here. But cravings, sometimes can food cravings can represent anything. Some people crave certain types of food because it makes them feel better from an emotional pain. Yeah. I know myself. I crave chocolate when I'm stressed. Something about chocolate just makes me feel better.
I never make an excuse for chocolate. I just okay. Because we're going to run out of time pretty soon. But I want you to tell people if they go to you for a reading, a body scan, a full body scan. What does that entail? How long does it take? What do they need to do? That kind of thing.
Oh, great question. So basically, what they need to do is just have in mind. Well, usually people know why they're coming to see me. Usually they have a health concern that they have questions about. So basically, what I do is I speak to them on the phone or face to face or by Skype, and I just in my mind run through a physical exam as if I was actually doing one with them in person, and run through all the body systems. Initially I'll do the head, eyes, ears, nose, and throat. And while I'm running through, let's say I'm running through their ears in my mind, if I feel a little pull on my right ear or in my right ear, I know that there's an issue that's going on either at the moment or in the past with the right ear. And using that example, as I go down from the head all the way down to the toes, we go through every body system, and if I feel a pull or a twinge, then I know that's something we need to talk about.
And so my guess is, and it's probably wrong, but there are probably very few people that come in and you scan and everything is like top notch and nothing wrong, because I think everybody has something wrong, right?
You are correct. Everybody
has a hangnail, Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. So, but it's, I think going to someone for like a body scan before anything else, you kind of have an idea of what may be going on, so that if you do go for your wellness exam or whatever, you can kind of say to the doctor, well, this is kind of what I think is bothering me or whatever, and bring it up. And it might save the MD or the PA time and effort trying to guess, kind of thing. Forewarned is forearmed. And you can also see people that have minor things that need correcting, like, somebody's dehydrated, or somebody is a little heavy on the sweets, and so you're seeing a little bit of that. But so you can tell them that, and that might help, or somebody with the higher cholesterol. Those are things that you can bring up and suggest, well, maybe you need to cut out this, or maybe you need a little of that, and that probably could make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. For example, this evening, I did the scan that I did this evening. That particular person, I felt what's called a fatty liver, and what that is just fat. It's just fat deposits in the liver, and I kind of felt that. I felt that there was a fatty liver going on, but I also felt that there was a little bit of a pancreatic insufficiency going on, and those two combined usually come from a diet that's got a lot of high fructose corn syrup in it. And here in the United States, if you're buying and eating foods that come in a box, come out of a bag, or drink any kind of soda that's not diet, you've got a lot of high fructose corn syrup in your system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and somebody I know calls that poison. He refers to it as poison. We don't need all that. That's not a good thing. So, do you see people in person? Do you do that, or do you just do remote scannings, or how does that work?
Oh, I see people in person, and I also do remote scannings. I would venture to say one doesn't seem to be more. What word am I looking for?
Accurate?
What doesn't seem, I'm sorry?
Accurate?
Accurate. There we go. One doesn't seem to be more accurate than the other because it's energy. It took me a while, even as a psychic medium, to figure, to trust that with the medical intuitive side of me. But yes, it's just energy, and it doesn't matter where you are, as long as we're connected energetically, we'll feel it.
Mm-hmm. And where can people go to find out where they can get in touch with you or schedule an appointment?
Let's see. They can go to my website, timothywallace.com.
That's too easy. And you know what, though? I looked up when I was looking you up last week or something. There are a lot of Timothy Wallaces. And I don't know if I went back to Facebook, and then it said Psychic Medium, and then I went back over there. So, try timothywallace.com, but if you don't find what you're looking for, say Psychic Medium Timothy Wallace, then it'll take you right there, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Just having to dance around Google sometimes. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so do people need appointments a long time in advance, or, are you booked up? Is this what you're doing all the time now, or part-time?
This at the moment we're doing this part-time, but I would love to do it more often. So right now I am booking for the end of next week and beyond.
Okay, good. So everybody, it's timothywallace.com, and we're going to have to tiptoe out of here. And so thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for doing the readings on everybody that asked for one. Very much appreciated. And
my pleasure.
At some time, you need to come back, and we'll do it again.
And also, if at some point I'd like to get feedback from the people that we did readings for.
Okay, that's fair enough. And if you stay on the line, I will thank you properly after we get out of here. But I want to thank everybody that's been listening, everybody that asked for readings, and everybody that just shows up every week. It's really important, and thank you so much. And until next time, everybody, blessed be, and merry meet again. Good night.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2019. The Mysterioso March by Kevin MacLeod is licensed through Incompetech.com.